Our last match of Super Sunday for week 2 in the Americas regions is bloodyface versus Fr0zen. Fr0zen, excuse me, playing that paladin, and bloodyface playing that warrior. Took a very quick swig of some carbonated water, TJ, and I started burping a little bit. Apologies for my bad manners. So bloodyface, yesterday he was kind of talking about on social media that he's like really glad that on Grandmasters the level is so high and he's been struggling a little bit, but he's not going to get discouraged even though he's 1-2. And then Fr0zen, in the meantime, he was apparently on stream yesterday saying that the warrior matchup is so complicated and long and hard that he's just not even going to worry about it. He says, it's too much. Forget trying to practice all these like super nuanced late game scenarios. I'm just gonna try to stick to my my paladin list and see what I can do. But I gotta say that this matchup, TJ, while we were practicing, has a lot of nuance to it.
It does have a lot of nuance, but at the same time, it doesn't. Because it feels like the way that Warrior wins is by pressuring early.
Same way they beat Mage, same way they beat Rogues.
The same way they kind of beat everything, which makes you wonder, what is Warrior doing these days?
Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list for bloodyface. He has a Bomb Warrior that has Mage Tech in it with the Super Colliders and the Big Game Hunters.
Yeah. So,
although that's more of a tertiary deck.
Yeah, I will say that game 1 is nearly 100% bloodyface favor. Fr0zen does not have barely any minions in the deck, and bloodyface will easily be able to outpace with armor. It is very difficult to set up the double Holy Wrath. Bloodyface has effectively 20 turns to amass 25 armor or more. And it may seem like, oh, 25 armor, that's a lot. It's not. It is a very difficult thing to do. Couple that with in order for you to win and get that off, you also have to dodge all of these bombs that they're shuffling into your deck in the later stages of the game. So you have to find this balance. It is very difficult. Tempoing out against a warrior with this deck full of nonsense is difficult.
Yeah, looking at Fr0zen's deck list here, he has the Elven Archer, the Blessing of Wisdom, the Soup Vendor, all really cool tech, not that helpful for this matchup. Now the exception, of course, is that if Warrior gets way ahead of itself, and a little careless with life, well, yeah, maybe that ends up being the case, but I think the secondary deck, which we'll show more because it's inevitably going to be what Fr0zen picks for game number 2. We'll talk a little bit about that in the time to come. For
the
now,
secondary deck is the one to watch.
Yeah, that's the one with the 0 Holy Rats. And it goes straight into the Immortal Prelate, Mechano Egg to Undertaker, which I'm a big fan of. We'll talk about that again later on. Christology off to a pretty decent start here. Again, bloodyface, all he has to do is armor up. It's like the old freeze mage versus control warrior.
Yep.
It's almost to the point where maybe playing Dr. Boom Mad Genius on curve isn't good. Maybe you want to just maximize your armor gain every turn and then play Dr. Boom Mad Genius when you can hero power with it on the same turn.
On average, yes, the armor will. You get more armor by not playing Dr. Boom. But having Dr. Boom for the burst armor and also just having Dr. Boom for pressure is valuable. Because you don't want to give your opponent just time to infinitely draw, right?
It's true. And, Fr0zen could conceivably draw so fast in this deck. Wow, bloodyface. Seemingly autopilot.
Yeah, I'm sure he's played a few games of this matchup and realizes just how, I don't know, I don't want to say easy, straightforward it is. It's not.
It's fairly linear. When a deck is so all in on a very specific interaction, your game plan to answer it gets a lot more clear. One thing that I do want to note is that with Bomb Warrior, as you get deeper into the deck, the threat of bombs increases. I'm sure you brought this up. We brought this up several times.
Yeah.
But that's going to be something for bloodyface to think about is as you get closer, do you save Augmented Elec for the combos, or are you going to play it for tempo to pressure your opponent?
In the secondary deck, I think that question becomes much more relevant. when you're going up against the Undertaker, Lightforge Blessing, Immortal Prelate, Mechanical Wealth deck. In this one, I don't even know if it's that much necessary, because you also have just a secondary win condition. Like if everything goes wrong, just armor up every turn.
True.
Whew.
I mean, Big Game Hunter's not landing on anything special this game. It can hit Shrivala.
Yeah.
That's about it. Ziliax, Dynamatic, and Eternium Rover, all pretty mediocre stuff. Ziliax nice to magnetize onto existing mechs, but your mech just died.
Eternium Rover is 2 more armor.
At least.
At least.
It might be even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, the armor count for Eternium Rover does make it seem plausible as a keep.
Hard to pass up Ziliax, though. This is kind of weird, though, going for shield block without an armor up factored in. But rewarded with a Town Crier.
I hope you like my invention.
Novice Engineer, Consecration. Helps Fr0zen chew through this very annoying board state where you can't stick his precious 1/1s. bloodyface picks up Wrench Caliber. Wrench Caliber augmented Elic, good for next turn.
Yep.
He could set up the Caliber this turn because I don't believe Fr0zen plays the Bloodseer Corsair.
He does not.
So he can try and go for the weapon setup preemptively. Plus, it also increases the effectiveness of Blastmaster Boom if he draws it next turn.
Defend the gate.
Okay, looks like he wants to save that for the augment to Elic over the course of 2 turns.
Yep.
Totally reasonable. Plus, he gets to squeeze in a nice little armor up in the process. All right, so we pick up the Crystal Smith Kangor. Oh yeah, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking.
I mean, keeping the armor total low is your win condition, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, you know, Elven Archer, while its goal in the deck is to have a cheap card that you can empty out easily with Crystology, but more importantly, to have something to play with equality as early as turn 5 or turn 4 with the coin to answer giants. That's kind of its primary use.
All right, now we have the opportunity for that Elic and the Wrench Caliber as we were setting up for.
What now?
The double brawl here, probably going to be a dead set of cards for bloodyface.
Yep, unless he wants to activate his own boom bots for lethal with Blastmaster Boom.
Right. And, you know, if he ends up saving the Wrench Caliber augmented Elic, that just becomes more powerful as the game develops. I'm totally okay with saving it for later.
Yeah. In order for Fr0zen to win, he has to play Shrivala, Baleful Banker, Holy Wrath, have an empty deck, and then do it again the next turn. So if you think that's the plan, then you can just hold on to Augmented Elic, Wrench Caliber, Clockwork Goblin, shuffle 4 bombs in the deck at once when they do that, and you have 20 damage. So, you know, I talked about the win condition of just getting above 50, but the other win condition is just get Fr0zen below 20.
Yeah, or 23 because the swing of the weapon.
23 with the swing of the weapon, and they take a tick of fatigue, so 24, right? So that's how difficult this matchup is for Fr0zen because his win condition is so linear. And when your win condition is linear and it relies on you decking out, that's where Bomb Warrior thrives. That's the same reason why Bomb Warrior just destroys Nomi Priest. Because not only do you have brawls for Chef Nomi, but you also just have a ton of bombs to shuffle in once they actually play Nomi. So
yeah, bloodyface, I don't think he has a bomb
he has no bombs.
to shuffle in with the Blastmaster Boom. This is just a 7-mana 7/7.
Which sometimes is okay. We found out earlier that it's actually not too difficult to shut down a Blastmaster Boom. At least the boom boss. You can play Timeout and Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah, that's one of the interactions. Like, I think playing Blastmaster Boom is not good unless you're able to ensure your boombots to die with boombots.
Or maybe not even that it's not good, but you can also just kind of play it with less boombot value just because you know that it's easy, easy to neutralize.
Right.
So you don't have to wait until it's fully loaded. You can just kind of throw it out there knowing that
Well,
the paladin can shut it down.
Here's the interesting thing as well that we found out is that if you end up going, if you know that there's a lot of bombs in your deck, there's some funny prismatic lens interactions with it. So for example,
yes.
Yeah, if you prismatic lens a bomb, it'll switch the value cost of 5 with whatever you end up drawing. So in one case, I had, I was playing Mechanical Web. It went from 6 mana to 5 mana. The bomb didn't do anything, obviously, because it drew, and then I drew another card just for its regular cost.
Yes, which is very weird.
Very weird.
Yeah. All the bomb interactions with the draw, like Book of Specters, for instance.
Also, one way for Fr0zen to play around the situation is to just simply fill up his hand, and then Holy Wrath when he knows that he can Holy Wrath preemptively, but then have like a full hand, and then he can't defeat, like he can't take any bomb damage.
Yes.
Very hard to pull off because you need to have 10 cards.
And
but,
I don't know.
possible.
Fr0zen said he didn't want to practice this matchup, so I don't know how nuanced he can get in the late game. I think he's going to rely on his general game knowledge, which honestly is way higher than the average player.
Well,
even way higher than the average pro player, I'd say.
He's already got some recipes for success. He has both the Holy Wraths in hand. And, you know, like, if he gets to Shirvala and the Baleful Banker and he shuffles it in, he might just be in a situation where he can go for it twice over.
Yeah. Bloodyface still needs another bomb card. Still hasn't picked up Dr. Boom.
Right. Time out for cheaper, but all he cares about is
I hope you like my invention.
getting some board presence here.
Yeah.
I think I might consider attaching Blessing of Wisdom onto this Christmas Kangor before I play Pyromancer. But, because Blessing of Wisdom cycles, but maybe Fr0zen doesn't want to, like, keep his hand count too high. Because he still doesn't have Shirvala.
I don't know. Fr0zen seemed like he actually might be ahead. None of Bloodyface's pressure stuck. He didn't go with the armor game plan.
Right. He took it very fast.
He went very aggressively.
Yeah. He could brawl this again. He does have the answer to Shirvala through a big game hunter. So, like, if his opponent does play a Shirvala, he has removal tools for it. Shield block.
I wonder.
Harrison, I believe, could land on a true silver champion. I even experimented when I was playing against TJ and kept Harrison in my opening hand because I want to be super aggressive with my card draw to hit my bomb combos. That felt like a viable path as well.
Yeah, but we were playing with the secondary decks. I honestly didn't think to test with the primary decks because I just thought it was so warrior favored. But Bloodyface has missed 5 armor ups this game. Now, granted, because of his plays, he probably took a little bit less minion damage. But 5 armor ups, that would put him at, he'd be at 54 health.
Fr0zen's pretty close.
He's very close. And Bloodyface, he's going to take the damage from these minions. And Fr0zen has both timeouts to kind of block that damage.
I wonder.
The Pyromancer being on board actually is very annoying for Fr0zen.
Yeah.
I am going to be very honest here. I think that Pyromancer... Oh, here's a really cool interaction, by the way, that I also discovered. If you have 10 cards and you play Prismatic Lens, you draw the minion and you discard the bomb. Because Prismatic Lens says draw a minion and then a spell.
And then a spell.
Yeah.
So you can play, if you know there's a lot of bombs in your deck, it's likely for you to draw the bomb as the spell.
You can draw you draw a minion and then discard the spell. It's a very funny, but very specific, nuanced interaction. Like, what card do I dump? This Pyromancer is such a problem. Maybe you play the second Pyromancer and just pass.
I kind of like that, actually.
Oh my gosh. My question is, what is Fr0zen doing with this Blessing of Wisdom? He's kind of held it in his hand for a while.
He doesn't want to use it.
He could use it. Oh, he can use it on Shrivala. So he can like Shrivala Blessing of Wisdom, shuffle it in, and then it's like a surprise factor.
Yeah.
Because bloodyface won't be anticipating another card draw. All right, so bloodyface now has 41 life, which means that he's a couple of turns away from hitting that sweet spot.
He's used both shield blocks, though. He has Dr. Boom, Mad Genius still left in the deck, but he does have kind of that critical mass of bombs.
What now?
With Augmented Elec, Clockwork Goblin, and the Wrench Caliber already equipped.
What I don't like about using Warpath in this position is it gives up your Blastmaster Boom's setup. And it all kind of works together. He sets up the bombs, he plays Blastmaster Boom, he Warpaths it.
But there's still 2 timeouts.
There's still 2 timeouts, you're right. I'm saying that the idea that Blastmaster Boom can get the damage in before the timeout.
Yeah.
You play Blastmaster Boom, your opponent plays timeout, clears the board. But he did play both Pyromancers. That is actually definitely something to consider. Flash of Light. Cycle. And Fr0zen knows what's coming because bloodyface has not swung with his Wrench Caliber whatsoever. Another Flash of Light. Holy Wrath. He's going for it. He hits for 25! Bloodyface! He knew that there was a 50% chance for it to happen, but now he goes for the timeout. Bloodyface, he can't even swing the weapon. There's no minion to swing the Wrench Caliber at. Fr0zen knows that this is a terrible matchup, and so he has to go for a risk, and he gets rewarded. And bloodyface can't believe it. That's game.
Bloodyface had a game plan. He played his stuff on curve. But I don't know if I agree with it, Dan.
I don't care. This line that Fr0zen took and ended up panning out was godlike.
It was. It relied on him having Shrivala in his bottom 2.
Look, 50% means that this is much more than like a 10% win rate that I was expecting otherwise.
Yeah, I'm just in the camp of I don't think this should have even been a possibility in the first place. That's what camp I'm in. But that's game over.
In fact, it ends up panning out perfectly because Fr0zen doesn't have 10 cards. So yeah, even if he draws both bombs.
Wait, no, if he draws Shrivala and if he draws the not a bomb. So he needs to draw not a bomb, not a second bomb. Okay, so it's not a guaranteed lethal.
No, he Flash of Light now.
Oh yeah,
or Blessing of Wisdom. It's the Blessing of Wisdom. It's like he had that with the Shrivala combo.
Yeah, he could have
a surprise factor to.
He could have Flash of Lighted as well, but that's guaranteed lethal. But that is a big win for Fr0zen. I would, by my experience and from talking with other players, this is like a 90% matchup for this warrior deck versus this
Because if he got too much armor, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
You did 50 damage, but he would be surviving, and then you clear the board, and he has no way to win after that.
Even with 5 armor ups missed, and maybe not like the ideally timed shield blocks for maximum armor gain, he still was only 5 armor away from being out of range of that combo.
Yes.
So
one like Dr. Boom, Mad Genius, if you drew that up top, it still would have been an out.
It still would have been an out. Like Fr0zen still wouldn't have had a chance. So I don't know. Like it's.
Every now and then you see like the Freeze Mage beat the Control Warrior, and I felt like there was a little bit of a whatever time travel. Turn back the clock, TJ. That was so cool to see. Obviously, bloodyface, like, I can't believe he got that 50-50, but when you're a 10% against a 90% like underdog, you absolutely take a 50-50 in that position.
Yeah, and then from bloodyface's position, if you know that you're 90%, just play the 90% odds, right? Just armor up, remove when you have to, play it slow. The onus is not on him. He has the shield blocks to draw. It's not like he draws more aggressively by playing more minions. Now, he does have to worry about taking minion damage on the backswing, but there's plays that he could have made where instead of like playing the Omega Devastator on 4, you armor up and then play Elec armor up and then play Omega Devastator armor up and then shield block armor up. Like, there are different lines you could take.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's you have to kind of go back and analyze it. This deck is very weird. It's not a lot of players have too much practice with it. It's hard to gain practice with it. Dan and I, we had a late start for Americas today, so we just tried to.
It was like an hour and a half jamming games.
Yeah, an hour and a half to jam what, 4 games, 5 games, both of us on the other side. So I don't know.
And after each game, we were still thinking, we should have done this, we should have done that. Hold on, let's play one more game.
Yeah.
I want to see what these players are going to do to adapt to game number 2. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. More Hearthstone Grandmasters action right after this.
My name is Tom Val, my handle is Viper. My username is just one of those boring stories where it's a 12, 13-year-old kid makes his first WoW account basically. You gotta pick a username, taken. Is this Viper taken? Oh, Viper's possible, nice, okay, whatever. It's a generic name, it's fine. And then I just stick to it. Being Grandmasters means that I'm one of the top 16 players in Europe basically, right? Which is really worth a lot for me because I always want to be the best, I always want to be competitive, I always want to do well. That's just who I am. I always try to be open-minded. I try to test whatever decks are good. January in 2016 it was, I think. I had almost 3K games in a month, just playing Aggro Shaman and Miracle. I think I've also played an unhealthy amount of J Druid and the Dragon Combo Priest after that. I just love those powerful decks, I guess. Being second at Worlds, it's such a crazy feeling and I'm not sure if I really realize it at this point. Now I'm just looking forward to Grandmasters, I'm looking forward to playing well. I want to play on the big stage, I'm really looking forward to that.
Each teammate I'm calling has stories. This tale's about riches and glories. Deep down in the earth, a king dreams of rebirth and refilling his gold inventories. Such a shame to have lost all that treasure. Join up, be a kobold of leisure. The cards now be calling. Someone new, no more stalling. And we next will be taking her measure.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters. Our last match for Super Sunday is the Paladin versus Warrior, and quite an upset in game number 1 as Fr0zen able to defeat bloodyface with the Paladin deck, which we thought was heavily Warrior favored. Definitely curious as to hear what everyone else thinks about what ended up transpiring, because I know, TJ, you were talking about how bloodyface just took a line to be more aggressive to pressure, and then when the time came, he would set up these bombs. But Fr0zen was like, well, my best odds are to take a 50% chance to win versus my last card, which was Baleful Banker.
It honestly wasn't even a 50% chance to win. I think he still wins even if he takes the normal game plan with double timeout.
Well, he Holy Wrath right there, right then, and if he hit the Baleful Banker for 2, he actually just can't win.
Then he can't win. But if he just waits for another card draw, he's a Flash of Light. He just Flash of Lights the next turn, sets up a timeout, does the combo, sets up another timeout, does the combo again.
He needed to time out that turn to stop him from swinging at the weapon to shuffle 2 more bombs in his deck.
But he wouldn't have died, that's the thing, because then the timeout would stop the next push.
Timeout only... No, but then he would shuffle just... He had a chance of shuffling even more bombs in.
But then the timeout negates that.
timeout doesn't negate the bomb because it's until the beginning of your next turn.
It negates the
draw
wrench caliber, though.
Yes, it negates the wrench calibers.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough to call that, but it's time to move on to the second game. And even this game has something that I don't even know if I agree with from bloodyface. Fr0zen has gone with his secondary. That's obvious. It's Immortal Prelate, Lifeforge Blessing, Mechanical Whelp, and Undertaker. He's taken out the Holy Wrath, so his game plan has completely changed.
Right. This is a Holy Wrath Paladin that doesn't play Holy Wrath anymore.
Yeah.
Instead, he's got the Undertaker Immortal Prelate package, which is actually what we saw at the World Championship played by Roger. Very effectively against Warrior.
Yeah.
Except bloodyface is playing the Bomb Warrior, so that is one caveat to it. Bomb Warrior does have a way to interact with it very, very punishingly if Fr0zen gets in, again, the late game draw situation.
But the thing about it is eventually the Undertaker will reach a critical mass where Undertaker, because Immortal Prelate, it keeps all of its enchantments. Undertaker copies Death Rattles, which means it copies also the Mechanical Whelp. It'll keep a Lightforge Blessing, which means it'll have Lifesteal. And then eventually, every time it dies, it puts another Mechanical Whelp Death Rattle onto it. Which means eventually, Undertaker will die and summon a board full of 7/7s.
Yeah, it's once Undertaker gets played for the third time, I think that's basically the point of no return.
Yeah.
So Warrior has 2 Undertaker cycles before it starts getting out of control, and then they just lose in the next turn or 2.
Yeah.
Can bloodyface get survived at that point? Now, he already has preemptively answered the question for us by switching to his tertiary deck. His tertiary deck has a silence because it has a Spellbreaker and it has a Big Game Hunter. I don't know if that's the true answer, because if Fr0zen is playing on point, the way you bypass that silence is to Baleful Banker your Undertaker instead of just playing it on curve.
Yeah, there's only one silence in the deck. So
Right.
if you Baleful Banker, you bypass that completely.
So the way to do it would be bloodyface would allow Fr0zen to shuffle in the Undertaker with the Baleful Banker and either go for a bomb win at that point or to silence it and tempo him.
The problem that I have with this plan is he's taken out a Wrench Caliber and an Augmented Elec to make room for these. So he sacrificed his ability to win the bombs in order to make room for the Spellbreaker, Super Clatter, Big Game Hunter.
Yeah, well, no equality here.
But this is another way to win, as this game has just been blazing by us, is pressure.
He has
but then-
Consecration.
But then bloodyface's secondary deck, which is the one that me and Dan practiced earlier because we thought that that's what he would go for,
wonder.
adds the second Elec, Sephorian Bombers, Carrot, and Grom.
Yeah.
And in our practice, the Warrior from both sides, when both me and Dan were switching back and forth playing it, was winning a lot just by pressure and finishing the game with Grom.
Right, so what's funny is that what bloodyface is doing with this is what his secondary deck does better.
Yes, exactly.
His secondary deck is supposed to be good at loading bombs and pressuring because it has Karen, it has that Grom, it has like other different things to add to the board. And yet bloodyface is choosing a more reactive deck. It's like, imagine this Big Game Hunter instead was Karen. And
Or
it's like,
Sephorian Bomber.
or Sephorian Bomber. It's just like, that's where it actually gets really scary here.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre to me that it seemed like, I don't know, maybe bloodyface has more practice with us, and if you put in like 20 games on each of these, on your secondary deck and your tertiary deck, and you won more often with your tertiary deck, then by all means, play your tertiary deck. But just from our observations, it kind of seems a little weird.
Fr0zen can play Soupbender and Ziliax to draw a card.
There's plenty to go around.
I think one key card for him to find is Shirvala herself, or himself.
Another interaction that's kind of cool, if you put a Lightforge Blessing on a Wall of Pyromancer, the damage that it deals to the board also acts as lifesteal.
Yes. Another card drawn, by the way. Mechanical Whelp. So Fr0zen is close to assembling the pieces, but needs to clear this off. Pyromancer plus Equality is a clear. Pyromancer, He can actually include the Acolyte.
Like to play with fire?
Oh, hold on. Fr0zen doesn't know. Does he know yet if bloodyface is playing the tertiary deck?
No.
No indications. So in his mind, he still might be afraid of like a Grom. Dr. Boom Mad Genius comes down. I do think that this is a fairly important card to play because you can get the ability to zap.
He can go for an overdraw here.
Yeah, that could also just straight up win the game.
Yeah.
Or you can also draw bombs. Like, it just helps his cause. He has 3 bombs at least shuffled into the deck.
Yeah. I don't know how much of a downside there is to that.
The downside is if he gets him, he might help Fr0zen draw exactly the cards he needs and then also burn the bomb on the following draw.
So the big ones from bloodyface perspective are Undertaker and Immortal Prelate, and Mechanical Well.
Right. It's Immortal Prelate in this position that we know both cards.
Yes.
Fr0zen would not be able to win, I think, inevitably, if he just had Mechanical Whelp and the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
It'd be a good push, though, because Mechanical Whelp dies, you play the other Mechanical Whelp, you play the Undertaker and Baleful Banker.
He's going for it.
He could kill Fr0zen, hypothetically, here. Bomb goes off. This is the Kangor, which is a very nice pickup for Fr0zen. Shrink Ray.
My hand is too full.
Ooh!
Bloodyface, not bad. Yeah.
Game's not over.
No.
But that hurts a lot.
That hurts a lot. Now, it's not, like we said, it's not a main part of the win condition. It is, however, a massive minion with a lot of lifesteal,
Yes.
which Fr0zen needs that health
Right.
at some point. He can Crystal Smith Kangor Flash of Light here to go up to 16.
Yeah. Another thing to consider is that Fr0zen already used his Ziliax. One thing that you could do with the
my
Whelp
God.
is to trade it in and Ziliax.
He is flirting with disaster here.
Wow. He's flirting disaster, and he's at 9 cards. So if his opponent had like any way to deal damage with the Wrench Caliber, then Fr0zen would be in a position to just lose right there. Spring Rocket's still scary in itself.
Yeah, Spring Rocket plus Omega Devastator after it actually clears off this
Yeah.
whole mechanical well. And that's just from Omega Assembly. Or the BGH. All right, so...
Well, it's only one BGH, and he knows it's in the core deck.
Yeah, one BGH is in the core deck list. Yep.
Fr0zen is fearless.
Wild Pyromancer, Crystal Smith Kangor, Lightforged Blessing, and Flash of Light. Whoa! So he gained 6 on the first round, and then 6 on the second round.
And then 16.
I wonder.
Or 8. 8
And then
on the
8.
flashlight, so...
So he'd go up to 28, right? That's 20 total?
Sounds like it. Oh, he gains 8 on the second one. Because Crystal Smith Kangor also gets damaged.
Yeah. No, but the 2 would die. 2 of the minions die.
Right, you're right. Looks like he's not using the Lightforged Blessing on it. Instead.
Job's done.
He's not really afraid. Kind of go up coming down for 2 mana. Okay.
And since Fr0zen doesn't know which of these decks that Bloodyface has queued, maybe once he plays Undertaker, he doesn't even shuffle it, and then it's vulnerable to silence. Maybe Bloodyface is going for the surprise factor here.
It could be.
Because then, what if he queues his secondary deck if he wins this one? Oh, that'd be next level mind games.
Right.
My call.
That would be very next level mind games. I wouldn't understand it myself, but it would be very next level.
Yeah. Because the bombs are actually pretty limited now. The only bomb card that Bloodyface has left is Clockwork Goblin. Because he took out a Wrench Caliber in this list. He had 2 swings of Wrench Caliber. So his maximum bombs is actually 3, because there's 2 left in the deck.
I mean, he could go for potential win right here. If he
This
goes
would be a good
Ziliax,
time for a
Magnetize,
master
and then
play.
all ins on damage, Fr0zen's going to be at less than 5 life, and Fr0zen has 2 bombs in his deck.
So it's a 1 and 3.
It's a 1 and 3.
And he's gonna go for it.
I like it. Fr0zen has to fade this.
But then what? He has no Shirvala left.
He has the Lightforge Blessing, which he wants to attach to the Undertaker.
The Lightforge Blessing on the Wild Pyromancer was 12 healing with the Crystal Smith Kankor.
I have to think that the Wild Pyromancer and the Lightforge Blessing... The Lightforge Blessing, it's a twin spell, so you get 2 copies of
Yeah,
it. The
you
first
can-
one you can play kind of frivolously.
Yeah, and you can use the other one on the Undertaker. Like the best
Right.
ones were like Lightforge Blessing on the dragon that comes from a mechanical whelp.
Right.
And then the second best one seemed like Wild Pyromancer. Because on a wide board it's so much healing. I think that was his opportunity, to be honest. Because now he has like no healing.
Yeah, and even if he times out, he's still vulnerable to a bomb next turn. He needs to heal in some capacity. But the Immortal Prelate Shuffle gives him another chance to maybe fade. The Immortal Prelate like works against the bombs. I think I'm trying to go some next level stuff here. I'm like, what if the best way to handle this is to draw after you've played timeout? But I don't think he gets the luxury of doing that and controlling the state of the board. Because if he timed out and then like hammered of Wrath, I don't think it pans out that way. I think the Shirvala bird here is just too much.
Yeah, he needed that healing. Dodges a bomb again.
He doesn't have time to play the Undertaker and Baleful Banker. This is definitely a situation that comes up fairly often. Fr0zen concedes Bloodyface's tertiary deck, which didn't even need any of that silence, the second big game hunter.
And Fr0zen has no idea which deck Bloodyface actually queued.
Could have been a primary deck.
It could have been the primary deck.
I mean, he pretty much played very normal stuff across.
Yeah, and honestly, like Bloodyface, it seemed like he would have even been better positioned in that game if he had played his secondary deck.
I personally think so, because I think pressuring is the way to beat this Paladin deck, as you can see. And maybe Bloodyface will agree with us. We'll find out. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the concluding game of week number 2 here for the Hearthstone Grandmasters.
Mazahidul Islam. I go by Muzzy in game. My username, as you know, my first name is Mazahidul. It's kind of difficult to say for some people, and every time someone calls you, they're gonna have to say, "Hey, Mazahidul." That's long, and you don't want to say that. My friend gave me a nickname, like, "Hey Muzz, hey Muzzy." So I sort of just took that, and name's Muzzy. I took a look at the list of players. Some of them have been more focused on streaming, I would say, in these past few years. I've participated at the highest levels of competition that they might not have appeared in. I'm the player to beat in my group, for sure. The thing that I most look forward to about competing in Grandmasters is the thrill of the competition. It's really why I play Hearthstone. It's what I've enjoyed doing for the past 3-4 years, and it's what I'll continue to enjoy doing, hopefully. I think Hearthstone Instinct is definitely my greatest skill set. I think that if I took a break for a while and didn't play the game and came back to new cards, I think I could pilot a new deck fairly well, fairly quickly. People would always mention the term burnout to me. Burnout, burnout, burnout. I didn't know what it was. I would constantly play Hearthstone all the time. I definitely want to have more titles and put my name in Hearthstone history.
So you're probably wondering why I gathered you here. Let me take a moment and break it down. We've been given black eyes by the good guys. Oh, but that's about to change. Those meddlesome mortals who've mocked up our missions will finally feel some of our pain. You see, I have a devious plan that requires a demonstrative fist, and each of you will have your dreams come true as a fiendish finger of peace.
What?
All right, let me try this again. Alone all our dreams went.
Kaboom!
Yes, but united we'll take.
All the candles.
No fish digging.
I'm seeing what you want to do.
Let me hit it.
We'll come together so we can dismantle.
Now here's the plot to capture your greed and intrigue. We'll take Galaran for all that it's got. As we form an evil league.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters. The grand finale of the day and of the week is Fr0zen versus bloodyface's Game 3. Only one can walk away with a series victory. bloodyface and is currently at 1-2 record score. Fr0zen, the undefeated player of his division, can he make it to a 4-0 record and join Monsanto as the only undefeated player in the Americas?
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. You know, we talked about how this is kind of the turning point for players with losing records, and we've been saying 25% way through the season. Day 8 week is the actual playoffs, so maybe we've been doing math wrong this whole time, Dan. But if you round up or round down, if you round down, it's 25%.
Yes,
which is an easier number to digest. So.
I will believe you with what you're saying.
I'm the math expert on this deck, Stan.
Let's take a big look at the deck lists going into the last game here. So we showed it very briefly, but we didn't have much time because the mulligans were starting. This has the Undertaker, Mechanical Weapon, Fr0zen. There's no Holy Rats. And this is supposed to be the Holy Rat Paladin. And that's kind of what the Specialist deck format is supposed to try to push, which is give you the ability to respond to your opponent's deck. There's a lot of one-ofs. The one of Soup Vendor, the one of Lightforge Blessing, the one of Timeout. There's only one Timeout in the deck.
Yeah. And we put a QR code there for you to easily copy the deck list, but I do not recommend it. This deck really only beats Warrior.
Yeah, it's very hard to play as well.
It is very hard to play. It really only beats Warrior. And even then, as we saw, not incredibly often.
Right.
This is bloodyface's tertiary deck, which we thought he was going to go with his secondary deck, which added another Augmented Elix, Sephorian Bombers, Cairn, Grom. Really pressure him, but he added Spellbreaker, Execute, Super Collider, and a Big Game Hunter, which, yes, will help you answer the Undertaker, will help you answer the Whelps and the Mechanical Dragons that come out of the Whelps. But if you're playing for an attrition game plan, it's very hard to win once you reach a certain point as the Paladin. So, or it's very hard to beat the Paladin as the Warrior once the Paladin reaches a certain threshold. So it's very interesting, very weird dynamic. I'm excited to see how this game number 3 is going to go. One of the other things we pointed out in the last game was Fr0zen has no idea if bloodyface queued primary, secondary, or tertiary. Now, they can always switch in between, but Fr0zen doesn't even know what bloodyface did last game. So he has no information to work with in that regard.
I think the way he played, though, he played it as if he knew bloodyface was playing the tertiary deck. Because he was not afraid at being at 8 life with Grom being as a possibility.
Yeah. Or his primary deck. He played it as if it was... Yeah. And to be honest, you kind of have to play like Grom isn't there, you know? It's a one-up. He has a one-up Warpath to activate it if he goes with that secondary deck.
I agree.
So it's not something that you can really go all in on.
Bloodyface sees the Acolyte, has an opportunity to drop the Clockwork Goblin or Shield Slam it. I think if you are trying to stop their combo...
What now?
It's the Shield Slam, but you know that they're playing the Undertaker build because you saw the Immortal Prelate, and I think that's just like the logical conclusion. Good news for Fr0zen, he's not going to burn Shirvala from the draw this game.
I don't know, Dan. It's Hearthstone. Anything can happen.
I mean, he could burn the follow-up Shrivala if he shuffles in a Baleful Banker.
Yeah. No,
Which
I hope you like my
I do
invention.
actually. The more we played, the more I kind of realized that is a thing. You don't need the second copy of Baleful Banker to shuffle into Undertake. I think 2 will do. But if you do silence one of them, you might need the second copy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes one just gets the job done, though.
That's right.
The only reason why I say 2 is because you keep a infinite cycle of them. You're not going to fatigue. You can fight against the bombs better that way. The moment you attach Lightforge Blessing, which will keep the enchantment because the Undertaker inherits the Immortal Prelate Death Rattle effect, it'll constantly have lifesteal. So that's the way you can fight off bombs. Bloodyface with a reactive hand. I kind of wonder if he wants to Omega Assembly in this position.
Wait a sec. If you Lightforge Blessing an Undertaker and then shuffle that Undertaker with Baleful Banker into your deck.
Yeah, it still has Lightforge Blessing.
Okay. I don't know. It's very confusing because it hasn't died yet.
Wait, you might be right.
So Death Rattle keep its enchantments, but it's not dying. It's getting shuffled.
Okay, you could be right. Maybe that's what you saved the double. We never got that far in our testing.
We never got that far. So if you are shuffling a second Undertaker, I think you have to keep the second Lightforge Blessing.
Right.
So maybe that's why Fr0zen didn't go with it in the last game.
That's assuming you get that deep into the game, though, because
Well, you have
like I
to,
said,
right?
the game, like I said, the game often gets decided way before. It's kind of like the Elysiana, Beautiful Brewmaster, Baleful Banker situation. It's like, yeah, you could, but the game doesn't go to the turn limit, like, really at all.
Has science gone too far, Dan? I mean, Admirable and I at the World Championship learned a lot about the Undertaker in one match. And boy, did we look silly in that match, but it is a very weird interaction. Because it keeps the Death Rattle of Immortal Prelate, it keeps its enchantments. But Baleful Banker, since it's not dying and Baleful Banker is shuffling it, I don't think it keeps its enchantments. It only keeps its battle card. Bloodyface found a way to apply some pressure again.
Yeah, the Zilliax, very nice, but Fr0zen has the answer in a multitude of ways. In fact, he also has the opportunity to develop the mechanical whelp anyways, despite
Let
that.
me think.
And I know that might sound crazy because it's like, oh, Bloodyface is staring at 7, he's going to push more damage. Fr0zen has the Crystal Smith Kangor and the Flash of Light and Shrivala. He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay, TJ.
And one of the hardest things to do in this matchup is find time to play Mechanical Whelp against Undertaker. That was the hardest thing to do in the matchups.
Right.
Because you have to play him. You have to spend that 6 mana or sometimes less if you Prismatic Lens into a Mechanical Whelp. That happens.
Yep. Omega Assembly. Bloodyface is going to look for maybe more magnetic abilities. I think he's looking for the War Gear. Dynomatic Kaboombot Demolisher.
Dynomatic does allow him to clear this nonsense off.
Soup Vendor. Soup Vendor is about to get a bowl full of bombs.
How's your soup now?
Soup is full of explosive diarrhea.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
I don't know.
Come on, Dan, this is a family show.
It's filled with explosive oopsie daisies.
There you go. Diarrhea is no joke.
It really is.
500 years ago, diarrhea killed a lot of people.
It kills me every day. Spellbreaker comes to the hand. Bloodyface has the Big Game Hunter primed and ready to go. He has 1 bomb shuffled into the deck. Could play Dr. Boom in his original form, his Stage 1 form. Actually, Stage 1 is just him by himself. Stage 2 2 bombs and all the way to his final form. So if you think about it, Dr. Boom is kind of like Fr0zen.
These references don't do anything for me, Dan. I'm sorry.
Great big game hunter. That's not a lot for tempo. Like, this is a position, again, Fr0zen is okay with, because now he has the Crystal Smith Kangor True Silver Champion Flash of Light. Heal for 12.
Or you can Crystal Smith Kangor Flash of Light Hammer of Wrath.
It's true. It actually is the same.
Yeah, you get less healing, but maybe your Crystal Smith Kangor stays around. I don't think the 4 health is worth.
Well, it shuts off the possibility of Harrison Jones.
But if you assume that he's playing his tertiary deck, which I don't know if you do at this point, I have no idea. Harrison Jones is not.
Right. The second Whelp here is optional. You don't need it, but it's very nice luxury. I think the card that Fr0zen's looking for outside of Prelude itself is Crystology. So that he could draw that and some extra change.
Yeah. The second Mechanical Whelp allows you to hit the critical mass twice as fast. Because of the fact that the only 2 Death Rattles in the deck are Mortal Prelate and Mechanical Whelp, so it copies 3 Death Rattles, a couple of Mortal Prelate, and 2 Mechanical Whelps.
Right. Which
means that the second Undertaker that you play summons 4. So it allows you to hit that I win button a lot sooner, or I win point in the game a lot sooner. Still a lot of game left to play, though. Bloodyface was not able to apply as much pressure. Actually doesn't even have a way to deal with this Crystal Smith Kangor outside of Spellbreaker, which is kind of a necessary tool for Undertaker. And, I mean, this game could come down to whether or not Fr0zen puts Bloodyface on playing the tertiary deck. If he doesn't, he's just going to play Undertaker. Then Bloodyface is going to Spellbreaker, Shield Slam, and then there's no win condition.
Ha! A meager Dr. Boom. Fr0zen can also play the, I was thinking he could play the Whelp and even have the Boom potentially activate, but wants to diffuse the situation with the Ziliax instead. Totally reasonable. If he plays Ziliax first, he gets the double healing, but he also risks the opening for Ziliax to get hit by a bomb. So I think if he wants to maximize his healing in every capacity, he attacks both with both Divine Shields.
I think he's looking at Concentration.
Okay. That's fine, too.
Really, actually, the Mechanical Whelp is...
And that's what I beat you with.
It is, yeah.
Because I was hitting you for 10. Because it's super sick.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only mech in the deck, so...
Yeah.
Somebody order a bomb!
Wrench Caliber.
Yeah, this deck does not have any augmented Elix in it, so there's no point in really waiting that much.
This is looking good for Fr0zen so far. He's getting all the setups necessary, and Bloodyface finally hits 10 mana, so Omega Assembly can come to play here. Super Collider. That card is not very useful right now.
Useful in the late game, and that's a lot of beefy stuff. Bulldozer.
Bulldozer here is not bad.
Yeah, though Fr0zen will have the opportunity to trade in to the Divine Shield with the Mechanical Whelp, and then Ziliax to gain 10 and kill the Bulldozer in its entirety.
Yeah, he doesn't know that, but that is definitely one of the best uses of Ziliax with the Mechanical Whelp.
He doesn't know that, but...
he can suspect it.
He can suspect it, and I don't think it's worth that big of a swing. I honestly think just Wrench Calibering into the Mechanical Whelp and then playing Omega Devastator is perfectly fine. Like,
Say the magic word!
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
he can do this in Shield Slam.
Okay. Yeah, the Shield Slam works as well.
Yep.
You do somewhat open yourself to that, like, Undertaker possibility.
But there are 4 bombs in the deck.
There are 4 bombs.
You have 4 damage on the board.
Yeah, I like this better, actually. So he can Undertake and Baleful Banker. So yes, he doesn't have the Immortal Prelate, but he can at least start the train of having like a non-stop threat.
And if Undertaker dies, it summons the Whelps, which means then he can attach Ziliax. So Bloodyface's window is closing.
He wants to silence this
Okay.
and pressure. So this is the reveal of the tertiary deck. Fr0zen kind of already suspected it, and now he's gonna take another 4. Fr0zen's kind of prepared. He has Shirvala and Baleful Banker as a backup option. Prismatic Lens still lets him do exactly that. But he can Hammer of Wrath and Prismatic Lens and do all kinds of stuff and then play Shirvala if he needs to. The bomb situation, of course, is very scary. Oh man, he can take 5 right here.
Oh.
And he can play Timeout. It's pretty good. I don't know if you want to Timeout in this spot. It's his only copy. Just keep that in
I think
mind.
you Baleful Banker.
You Shirvala Baleful Banker?
Yeah, you don't need the second Baleful Banker. The one silence is out of the way.
Yeah.
It does get rid of the redundancy of double Undertaker. To kind of have the like the bouncing Undertaker effects where you always have an Undertaker in your deck.
Yeah.
Oh, Baleful Bankering the Baleful Banker.
Whoa, that's cool. Because that's just another shuffle that gives him another draw. That makes sense. But then that he's confident that he doesn't need Shirvala anymore.
Save the best for last.
Which is a bold call to make.
Right.
He's not that healthy.
I mean, I do think this. You want to Baleful Banker a Undertaker into your deck that has the Immortal Relic. I do think you want that. There's the Undertaker again. I think this is a Pyromancer clear.
He hasn't played Immortal Prelate yet, has he?
No. That's why I was saying he needs to find that Prelate, and Crysology is probably his other best draw. Bloodyface is running out of threats, but he still has that Bulldozer.
Yep, Bulldozer is a very big deal.
Oh, he has the Boom. That genius? That's like a way for him to generate threats. Oh, man. No Mortal Prelate makes this Undertaker a lot worse, FYI.
Dan, I would go so far as to say it makes it
Let me
terrible.
I'm inclined to agree.
In fact, it makes it game losingable. He can Wild Pyromancer, Timeout, Equality.
I wonder.
I don't know. I don't know if that even saves him.
Reporting for duty. Must move quickly.
He can wait a turn. Try and bait out some more minions. But then he needs a spell as well to get rid of this Divine Shield.
I think he wants to save the timeout because of the possibility of getting the Prelate. He needs a turn to set up the Prelate and the Undertaker.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, he gonna die.
It's nice getting the Kaboom. But if he wants to be a little bit more proactive, I think you play the Acolyte here just to get better card draw and have more answers to your opponents. I don't think it's that consequential. The Super Collider having a charge is just nice for luxury. Bomb taken. So Pyromancer,
Blessing of Wisdom?
you can still Lightforge Blessing.
Oh, man. Because he needs the card draw, because he needs to find the Prelate.
Let me think.
But if he Blessing of Wisdoms, he gets rid of one source of his card draw. Also, this is the only copy of Timeout.
Yeah, his only copy of time.
Reporting for duty.
All right, well, this will get a little bit of healing.
No, he's just dead.
The victory is yours.
Fr0zen is going to concede. Bloodyface takes game 3.
Wow.
And what was quite a limp to the finish here. I
Yeah.
felt like that was not exactly the pan out that I expected.
No.
And I kind of want to talk to Bloodyface and just get some of his thoughts. I don't think he thought he was going to win, based off just his reaction.
No, and I asked Saiyan earlier, who's playing pretty much the exact same secondary list as Fr0zen. I said, what would you give the percentage chance for this Paladin deck versus the Warrior deck? He said 80-20 Paladin favor. And then I told him, me and Dan did some practice, and we came to the conclusion that Warrior was favored because they can pressure too hard. And Saiyan's response was, uh-oh, better tell Fr0zen. So...
Well, didn't tell him quite fast enough, I guess.
I said, I'm not going to tell him. I'll let him find out for himself if that's the case. But very differing opinions, and also just a different pan out as far as deck selection, and different pan out as far as game plan in game 1. I don't know. I have a lot of questions.
All right, let's go ahead and ask Bloodyface. Bloodyface, are you there?
Yeah. Hey.
All right, man. So you got the win. You looked really relieved. Did you not expect to come out ahead in that series?
The matchup's pretty close. I think that I'm actually confused at some of the stuff he did. I think that like game 1, the YOLO Holy Wrath. I mean, he hit the Shrivala, but I felt like he wins there every time. I think he put me on having Dr. Boom. Because if I had exactly Dr. Boom, I could go to 52 health, and he's already used both Hammer Wrath and his True Silver, so he wouldn't be able to deal more than 50. So maybe he felt pressured, but like, I don't know. I felt like he had the win game 1. Obviously, I'm just going for my second Clockwork Goblin so I can 30 him. Yeah. And then like, I also thought that he might switch back to his primary deck. Game 2, he actually didn't see any of my, he actually had no way to discern if I was on primary or tertiary. So I thought if he went back to primary, then I think he's actually, like his primary Paladin deck is favored against my tertiary Warrior deck. And I think my tertiary Warrior deck's favored against his, secondary Paladin deck.
Gotcha.
But I think like my prime, it's like a weird mind game. I don't even know if he was considering that, but it's just, I don't know. I think there's like some interesting mind games that could happen.
So you weren't considering the secondary deck for games 2 or 3 at all?
No, the aggro deck, no. Like,
Well,
yeah, I mean, I don't need the Spellbreaker, but like the double BGH and Spellbreaker is like pretty huge against his tertiary deck, because the way I win that game is just by like grinding him out. Like he only has so many qualities and so many timeouts and so many answers, and his threat is just kind of a one-trick pony. Like I don't really care when he plays Mechanical Whelp. That doesn't really threaten me. It's really once he gets the Undertakers going. And I can deal with the first Undertaker by like shield slamming it and then like super colliding the Mechanical Whelps. The second Undertaker, you usually should Spellbreaker. Like you never Spellbreaker the first Undertaker. So I think that like the Warrior deck has so many, like the tertiary Warrior deck has so many ways to gain tempo against his like secondary Paladin game plan that, yeah, I felt pretty good about that matchup.
In game 1, you went for more of like a tempo game plan instead of trying to like out armor his Holy Wrath.
Right.
Can you talk to me about your kind of decision making there, and maybe a little bit of insight into your practice, whether or not like that armor up strategy works and how effective it is?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play like a super ton of games. Like I just tested against myself, and I found out that like if the Warrior, like in the game 1 matchup, if they just like are playing too passive, Paladin's like really fast and it can draw its deck like by turn 10 a decent percentage of the time. And I only run one augmented Elic. Like I think if I ran 2 Elics, maybe I can just hard mulligan for the Elic, Wrench Caliper, Clockwork Goblin OTK plan. Because the thing is, like after they play the first Holy Wrath against you, their deck is empty, and then you can just like shuffle all the bombs in and just like deal them a bunch of burst damage. And that's kind of like why game 1 you're so focused on playing tempo, because you need to get them down to like 10 to 20 health range, and then once they play Shrivala and Holy Wrath, you shuffle all the bombs in and OTK them. I don't have double Elic, so I can't really rely on the 30 OTK plan as much. Like maybe if I had that, I could consider the armor up plan, but I mean in general in testing, it just didn't seem to work out.
Right. I mean, that's kind of our thought on a process because your secondary deck did have that second Elix, so that's probably why we were leaning towards that because we
Yeah.
thought that big combo towards the end.
Yeah, Dan and I
really powerful.
tested before the broadcast today, and we're like, oh yeah, he's queuing secondary deck. And we were both crushing each other with Warrior. And we're like, okay, Bloodyface is very favored because his secondary deck just wrecks this Paladin because he can't outpace.
The Paladin couldn't like answer the C4 bomber like ever. It was so funny.
I don't know. So
you guys actually might be right. I'm not gonna lie. I actually did not even consider. I didn't even consider the secondary, but you guys might be right.
Because you're
I didn't think about that.
In like game 2, it was like you won with pressure. And then, like, if you had like more pressure, I don't know. It just, I think both works out because the Spellbreaker BGH also kind of gives you pressure in a weird way.
No, it was definitely a big swing because he ran out of removal at that point.
Yeah, he ran out of removal, and even like BGH, like it seemed like it was, oh wow, BGH.
Yeah,
it's 4 attack, it's gonna get him. So
a lot of food for thought.
Yeah, very interesting matchup. It was a very fun series to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right, well, Bloodyface, any final words? You're the last match of the week. You can send us off.
You know, actually, week 1, I wasn't a big fan of Specialist, but after week 2 and having the meta shake up a lot, I'm really liking the idea of like having secondary and tertiary decks. I think that like there's actually mind games going on that I hadn't considered before, and there's a lot of like interesting things that you can do. So, you know, even if you didn't like Specialist initially, give it a second, maybe a third chance, because I'm kind of coming around to it.
Oh, don't worry. When we inevitably change the format years down the road, everyone's going to be like, I miss Specialist. Just like they did with Conquest. Just like they did with last Hero Standing. It's going to be, it's great. The cycle continues. All right. Thank you so much, Bloodyface. Congrats on your win. We'll see you back next week.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
We might be right, Dan. We might be right.
I'm going to clip that, and I'm going to frame this moment on broadcast.
It's so funny because usually I'm like waiting for players to like give this like crazy like revelation that Dan and I weren't thinking about, and like, oh yeah, we're definitely wrong. But Bloodyface is just like, yeah, I mean, you guys make good points.
I personally think that's also why Bloodyface is a top-tier player. Not because he complimented us, but because it's the idea that you can keep an open mind and analyze it from all different kinds of angles of attack.
For sure.
Let's go ahead and recap what we saw today. 6 matches in, 6 matches out. PNC, Nalgidon, and Eddie able to defeat Muzzy, Zalay, and Amnesiac. On the left-hand side of that screen, all of the top NA players that you've heard over the course of years. But today, it belonged to Latin America.
Yeah, that's right. And Strife Crow taking the win over Firebat. I think we got to see the cracks show a little bit in Mage, falling to the aggressive decks of Shaman and Rogue. And then a match that, honestly, I was not looking forward to that much, which was the Paladin Mirror race for Just Saying, ended up being one of the hypest matches we've seen thus far in Grandmasters. And that weird mind gamesy Warrior versus Holy Wrath Paladin that we just saw with Bloodyface taking the 2-1 win over Fr0zen, giving him his first loss, his match loss of Grandmasters.
Fr0zen was 3-0, but he's still topping out the division at 3-1, and overall, you know, still a great couple weeks for Fr0zen. Of course, Bloodyface picking up his results, and you heard from the players themselves. They're starting to learn the meta, they're starting to learn the format, and that's what we want: more information and data. Because I know the esports team was talking about how they want to revisit specialists, but for now, we just need more time to figure out how everything is panning out.
Yeah.
And of course, you guys should let us know your opinions as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed everything. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next upcoming matches on Friday. We have Bloodyface versus Strife Crow. We have Zalay versus Purple, Firebat versus Muzzy, Fr0zen versus Eddie, and PNC versus Amnesiac.
Now, these aren't the classes that they're going to bring. Deck submissions isn't until Thursday. These are just the classes they brought this week.
Right.
But still, nonetheless, a lot of big matchups. And the featured match for next Friday, Zalay versus Purple. 2 longtime friends, longtime practice partners who have prepared pretty much both weeks going into Grandmasters, going head-to-head for our featured match. Couldn't be more excited for that one, Dan.
Yeah, maybe we should put like question marks in the classes. But overall, it's going to be really fun to see even the next match, you know, Firebat versus Muzzy. It'll be a clash of the Oligard versus some of the new ones. But yeah, a great couple weeks so far, TJ. 2 weeks in, just like that. Any thoughts from your end?
I am kind of in the same camp as Bloodyface. You know, I've known about Specialist a lot longer than many of you at home have. You know, having that early insight, being on the Hearthstone Esports team, and I think I was concerned, but also kind of excited, and I've been pleasantly surprised with just how much goes into the planning between the secondary and tertiary decks, and even just what you bring for your primary deck, what you're trying to focus on beating in that game one. We've seen some crazy stuff coming out that has turned out to be really effective.
Right.
So definitely growing on me. I'm excited to see what players come with next week to try and beat Mage, and then once June 3rd comes around, that buff patch, man. Buffs in Hearthstone. Who would have thought we'd ever see that in our lifetimes? And going to shake things up even more.
It's going to be really exciting. Week 3 starts Friday, 2 a.m. Pacific here, twitch.tv/playhearthstone. But that's it. Our second week is in the books. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure to go to playhearthstone.com/esports if you missed any of the action. For Fr0zen, TJ, and everyone here in Studio 5 in Burbank, California, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time for more Hearthstone action.